Hi guys, another little Amanita update here. I have dried the flycap mushroom that I brought in, that I harvested yesterday, in a single night. I have sliced them up really fine, and this is the size that one of the pieces is now. You can actually see that it's like a half of a complete slice like that, including the stem. What I did, it worked really well. You have to be a bit careful. I used this little pan. At first, what I have done before is I sliced them up, stuck them onto a piece of baking paper because that doesn't stick to the mushrooms, and then onto a little gas burner on my stove right there for an hour or so. However, what with humidity, it's obviously a problem to get them really dried out. So I've been watching a few people on the internet, Amanita Dreamer among them, and come to the conclusion that it is what she says I find works well for me. You have to sort of dry them completely in 24 hours, but not overheat them. That's how I see it, how I interpret it, what she said anyway. So you do not want, that's the trick right there. You have to have the temperature between this and this temperature, and about 70 to 80 degrees centigrade is okay. If you go over that, you get a chemical reaction in the mushroom and the mushroom changes. And I suppose it becomes less psychoactive, potentially. What I did is I stuck the mushrooms in the pan, first on the gas. That didn't really go quickly enough. I felt there was a lot of moisture coming out, and I had a wood fire burning in my fireplace. So I took the pan out there, and my fireplace is like this. You've seen it maybe. Open rectangular space, this wide. What is that? 40 centimeters, perhaps? Yes. And so the fire is on this side, and I stuck the pan on this side. I took out the paper, the baking paper, and sort of shuffled in among the slices so that they could all get hot air enough. And you could see in the next hour or two, I think, we watched Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone, depending where you're from. Halfway, that was 1.5 hours, I think. And then we just decided to finish watching that another time, what with having had a long day and all. And so during that whole time, the pan was in the fireplace, and there was a smallish wood fire, so just like 1.5 logs, maybe, slowly burning. And I felt like, okay, so this is going rather well. By the time it was 10 o'clock or so, I was wanting to go to bed. I felt they weren't completely dry enough yet, logically, because it takes that long. And what I found out was I could add, let me go get one. Hang on a second. One of these. So this is a kind of a compressed charcoal briquette. I don't know, that's what they call it over here. Quite heavy compared to ordinary charcoal. And I stuck one of those into the leftover of the wood fire. So there was about this much glowing coals left, quite big coals, so quite a decent bit of a fire still. I stuck one of those in the middle of that and blew on it, so I was sure that it was going to catch, because these are really long burning charcoals. So that worked really well. By the time I came downstairs this morning, 12 hours later or 10 hours later or so, this is what I've got. And they're actually quite crispy. And what I did is the purpose of this batch was to supplement what's already in here, which is my Amanita incense mix, as it is going to be. I have added basically lots of spice mix in there that contains aniseed and clove and ginger and a couple of other of those good things, all ground up in the mortar that I still had in my cupboard over there. And what else is in here? There's resins in here. There's opoponax resin, which I felt was a really good idea. I just happened to find it and took me a while to recognize what was in the pot because no sticker. Silly. I might add to this a couple more resin types at some point, maybe some benzoate or some that I've got handy. All of it supposed to be fairly fine, and if I need to, I can grind up bits of resin. The other resin that I put in was a resin that I harvested myself in the south of France, a regular pine resin, which has kept its strength really well, because that's what resins do, really. So that will give it a bit more of a steadying effect. So far I have tried lighting this, and the smell of it, I'm, of course, where I come from is rather more as an incense fanatic person. I tend to look at the fragrance first, and it's not bad, I wouldn't say. You can smell that there's protein in the mushroom. So what you get is a bit of a nuttiness in a way. So let me just light this up again on live television. Like so. You see it actually burns. Then I blow it out like so, and you get like this Palo Santo effect. You just have to keep lighting it like this. So, and you get a fairly strong, not as if you were burning walnut or walnut husks, the husks in between the walnuts, something like that. And I have, as much as I've felt not a high, because I don't really go for that. I go for a shift in experience or an access in a way to the vibration of the mushroom. That's what I want. I don't need to go all over the place necessarily, which is fine. If you want to do that, that's fine, as long as you don't put yourself in danger. Personally, I feel that I just want to get to know this mushroom a lot better. And I had these yesterday, or this morning I uploaded them, I think, that contain the actual dried pieces. They were dried slightly slower than this, so they're less dark and otherwise the same. And I could really feel the sense of expansion, of brightness. It was really pleasant. It's a really pleasant accessory, you know, energy-wise, comparable to a good crystal, I think. Absolutely comparable to an celestial. That's how I would qualify. And celestials are way over there in my rating of how personally they're my favorites, you know. So this is really good. And burning it like this, I still have the smell in here a bit. This was the 5th time that I did this. So the atmosphere is it has a slight impression of this nuttiness and a bit of you can inhale it. It doesn't really, as far as I'm concerned, I don't feel this affects me necessarily in any way, other than maybe because I know what it is that I'm doing. Of course, I am sort of accessing the vibration again. So yeah, and what I read online, people smoke this stuff, people go to all sorts of lengths. Not my jive anymore. I have smoked weed in the past. Yes, I have. And nowadays I have a similar flask to this smaller one that contains a bud of some type of weed. And if I want to go feel relaxed and sleepy, I will just hold that in my hand. Same as, you know, crystals. And it works really well. It's one of the ways how I discovered that I can actually work with the vibration of any kind of plant like this really easily. So in the smoke, so far as I can tell, I'm not really getting any weird vibrations or anything special. I suppose that it would be rather pleasant to have this burning also on charcoal, on those little round pellets that you use for burning resins and stuff like that. I intend also, which is kind of what somehow sticks in my brain, and I have to say this, want to combine them with oak leaves. So I gathered up a couple of sticks of oak that had fallen off the trees in the wind yesterday, took them home, shredded some of the leaves, a couple of green ones and a couple of brown ones, stuck them in a paper bag over there by the fireplace to dry as well. And once they're dry, so this is going to be a bit of a more of a lengthy exercise, right? I can shred them really fine or cut them up with scissors even, because that worked just fine for the mushroom. The lot of the Amanita that I put into my pot here this morning, that was so beautifully dry, I could just break up with my hands. So that's how crispy they were. So that worked really well with one of those. And the idea is to get enough heat in so that the moisture evaporates, and then, you know, keep going like that. And then of course the whole thing shrinks quite a bit. And so I felt like I needed to try a single, you know, like an experiment with a single piece just sitting here. And I have not on purpose had any coffee yet. I had a bite to eat, just a cracker, and I'm having a bit of herb tea here. Because I know from my experience that if I drink coffee first, then my whole experience is going to be slanted towards, you know, being in coffee space, so being active and being available and all that kind of stuff. So at this point, I would say pleasant, relaxing, not bad. Fragrance wise, yeah, it's not like amber or patchouli or anything like that, but with the resins in here that will sort of go together rather well, I think. And of course it's just a smidge, and I even got a bit of an open window on this side, so relaxing and potentially, yeah, like coming into contact with yourself, something like that, getting back to yourself type of a vibration, potentially. Certainly not exploding all over the place, no, which is kind of what I was afraid of before. And because a lot of the vibration of the mushrooms, as I have sort of experienced this, I suppose, in the fields, at that time, I wasn't in the frame of mind that I'm in now. And I'm kind of actually rather honored. I feel honored and blessed that I have got this Shakti energy going in my, you know, in my whole system, really, that I've got this soul connections going, that everything it's really hard to express, but I feel so much more at ease and at home in my own life. A lot of the old doubts and fears and powerlessnesses and all that just fallen away. I have to remind myself that that was actually something that was part of my life, very much so, very unpredictably so. So it's a big deal for me to, you know, find all this to happen, and then also to connect with the fly cap mushrooms like this. And then my husband's poetry album is out today, and people have received emails as to, you know, they can actually go and buy the book and so on and so forth. So that's really exciting. I should really show you a copy. Here it is. It's in Dutch, of course. And this is husband on the back with a photograph and a little bit of a summary of his life. It's a poetry album, just like so. And it's got a drawing by me in there that has a bit of a, it's an impression I made of how many lives I, you know, spent on the planet and all that. So suspense, good times, really good times. And all this ties in really well with each other. And me seeing my dad potentially soon, maybe. I just have to, take it easy, I suppose. And first have a couple of more phone calls going back and forth. And if that goes well, we will see where we go from there. And at least I understand so much more these days. So thank you for watching, you guys. And I'm trying also to take some of the fear away, because I suppose quite a number of people are really unsettled, I suppose, by the Amanita mushroom business, and there's no real reason. It's how do you argue against that? You don't. Never mind. I'm gonna get me a coffee now, okay? Thank you for watching and see you again next week, okay? Ciao.